Hi guys, welcome to Retrospective, and in this video I will be doing my predictions for AEW Revolution. So first up we have the Guns defending the AEW Tag Team Championships against the Acclaimed, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. For me, I feel like the Guns are going to retain in this one. While watching the Battle Royals, I think it was annoying-ish that FTR didn't show up for either. I feel like they would fit perfectly into this match. And I would like to see them win the titles as well. I don't know why AEW aren't using them. It bewilders me that they're not being used. And the match itself, I think it'll be a fun match. I think there'll be like a comedy element, especially between Cassidy, Danhausen, Jarrett and Lethal. Whereas the Guns and Acclaimed is more of a serious feud. They might start battling each other, whereas they said the more comedy will come out of the other two teams. But I feel like maybe some shithousery will happen and Guns will steal a win to retain the tag titles, probably pinning Bowens or Caster. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a bad match. It's not one I'm particularly massively interested in, or that invested in even. But I think it can be a good match, but I've got the Guns to retain. Following that we have Chris Jericho versus Ricky Starks. I feel like this match is going to be really good. I know that these two are great wrestlers anyway, and Jericho seems to be putting on banger after banger at the minute. The JAS is banned from ringside. I feel like someone else might get involved, either a new member of the JAS, and the guy from Cultaholic said that maybe Action Andre turns on Starks, costs him the match, and joins the JAS. But I can see that happening as well. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a really good match. I've got Jericho to win this one. Starks already has a win over Jericho, and Jericho feud seems to go backwards, where like it starts with the person who should win the whole feud getting the win, and then Jericho gets the win back, and then they'll probably have a third match maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, I can definitely see, I can see them having a really good match, as I've said many times already, but I can see Jericho winning this one and then having a third match at some point in the future. Following that we have Samoa Joe defending the TNT Championship against Wardlow. For me, it's a tough one in a way, because if you consider the Face of the Revolution ladder match being won by Powerhouse Hobbs, I would say that Wardlow is going to win the match, and that's who I'm going for. I think Wardlow is going to win and become the new TNT champion. But I kind of saw it as if a heel wins the ladder match, then Wardlow would win, and if a face won the ladder match, Joe would win. So then it's a face and heel dynamic. I know that that's not for definite, but that's the way I kind of see it a lot of the time. And with how Powerhouse Hobbs being a heel, I'm going to go with Samoa Joe being the winner for this one and taking the TNT Championship into next week's Dynamite and defending it probably successfully against Hobbs. I'm hoping that Wardlow has a better run as TNT Champion than he had before. You know, since cutting his hair, I think he looks even more like Batista, which I find quite funny at times. But yeah, I think like this one's going to be a bit of a power moves match. I don't imagine it's going to be a technical one, but I think it's going to be good nonetheless. I'm not particularly looking forward to it. It's not one of the stellar matches on the card in my opinion, but I think it'll be good nonetheless. And yeah, I've got I've got Wardlow to become the new TNT champion. Next up we have the Elite defending the Trios Championships against the House of Black. For me, I'm going more with my heart than my head for this one, and I feel like that House of Black are going to win. I want them to win so badly. I want them to be on TV more, I want them to be involved more just in general with AEW. I love Malachi Black, I think he's awesome. Not that I have anything against the Elite, it's just that I think the titles would help elevate the House of Black to where they should be on the card. And that's why I'm picking them to win this match and become the new Trios champions. I think it's going to be a really good match actually. I'm very much looking forward to seeing them all interact, and I think this might even steal match of the night. I know that there's a few that could be match of the night, but this is definitely a dark horse for one, and I know I'm definitely going to enjoy it. As I said, genuinely looking forward to it, and I've got House of Black to become the new Trios champions. Following that, we have Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry in a no-holds-barred match. This match I'm generally really looking forward to, and I would say I'm a bigger fan of Christian Cage than Jungle Boy, but I've got Jungle Boy to win this one. I feel like he needs to win, especially if he wants to go for championships, whether it be TNT or All Atlantic. I can't see him going for the world title, but TNT and All Atlantic I can see him going for. Though Christian did say on his promo on Dynamite that Jungle Boy would win a title match over his dead body. So I don't know whether he might keep costing him titles until they have like a third match. Because obviously Christian won the first one in the squash that happened. Then they'll have this one, which I think Jungle Boy will win. And I think they'll have a third one to kind of blow off the feud, even though it feels like it's been going on for a while. But then Christian has been injured for most of it, so. But I was genuinely excited when Christian came back. Really looking forward to this one. And yeah, and so Jungle Boy to get the win. So next up we have Jamie Hayter defending the Women's World Championship against Ruby Soho and Saraya, I never know how to say it. I think this one's going to be a really good match. I think it's going to be free-flowing throughout. I don't think the action's ever going to die down in this one. All three are really good wrestlers. But for me, I think it's a process of elimination. I don't think Ruby is kind of in the place to win the world title. She's not been built up within this match's storyline that much. She's kind of been the one caught in the middle, and then she kind of suddenly asked for a title match. Though I think she is undefeated this year so far, which is good for her. I'm very happy with that. I am a fan of Ruby Soho. Saraya, I think it makes sense again undefeated this year, though I think she's only had a few matches. But with the whole AEW Outsiders versus Originals thing going on, which I do want to carry on after this match. I want to kind of get it to Blood and Guts, and then they have a Blood and Guts match, and it's like, again, the Outsiders or ex-WWE versus Originals, and then it begs the question, where would Ruby stand at that point? But I think Saraya's return as a whole, I was expecting more. I haven't been enjoying it all that much. It's been very bitchy and very, like, she talks a lot, and it annoys me when that happens during matches, and not even her matches. The match on Dynamite between Toni Storm and Riho, all you could do was hear her talking on the outside and talking to the audience or talking to the wrestlers in the ring, and it just got really annoying after a while. Like, even Britt Baker, who was out of the ring with them, was telling her to shut up. Like, and I know they probably meant it in like storyline type thing, but it genuinely felt real, and I genuinely did want her to shut up. So I'm hoping she doesn't talk too much during the match. But for me, I think that Jamie Hayter will retain in this one. I think it's not the time to take the title off her. She's over as fuck at the minute. So I think that taking the title off will be a terrible idea, and that's why I think she's going to win the match. So next up we have Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page in a Texas Death Match. For me, this is the hardest match to predict, because either wrestler could get it. I feel like Moxley could use the win towards his heel turn. It feels inevitable at this point, especially with the Blackpool Combat Club being more heels as well. The match against Evil Uno, which I really enjoyed, and with it being a bloody mess, suggests that, you know, heel sides to Blackpool Combat Club is where we're going with it. I'm not sure. The only thing I question is whether Danielson's still in the Blackpool Combat Club, because he doesn't seem to be associated with them that much anymore. I can't see him turning heel, especially as he's feuding with MJF. Whether he does after Revolution, I have no idea. But yeah, it seems like they've kind of separated themselves from Danielson. But being more heel, I would enjoy that a lot more. There seems to be a lot more face factions than heels, so I think they'd fit in quite well. And as I said, if they go more towards the violent side and they start having a bloody match and stuff like that, I think I would really enjoy it, and I think it would go down well with the audience as well. Well, on the contrary, you've got Hangman, who seems to have more of an emotional connection to this match, and, you know, he wants his win back from being rolled up against Moxley in their third match, which will probably lead to a fifth match, but I'm not sure how they up the ante after a Texas Death Match, other than maybe Cage or Lights Out maybe, but then Lights Out is pretty much a Texas Death Match, so I'm not sure where they go after it if it continues. But for me, I feel like Hangman is going to be the winner for this one, though it is incredibly difficult to predict, as I've said. I feel like he needs to win more, and kind of he needs to be put back in that kind of main event scene, or be put in bigger feuds. I feel like this is probably the second biggest match on the card, which is a good place for Moxley and Hangman. But for me, as I said, Hangman needs to win more than Moxley in my opinion, and that's why I'm choosing him to win the match at Revolution. And finally, in the main event, we have MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Bryan Danielson in a 60-minute Iron Man match. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've never sat through an Iron Man match, ever. I always find them really tedious. But then I have also sat through Hangman and Bryan going an hour on Dynamite, but that's because I didn't know it was going to go an hour, and that's what made it kind of more entertaining as a whole. I'm expecting MJF to do his kind of heel, shtick. He's kind of probably get himself disqualified at some point just to go one down or a few down, just so we can kind of batter Danielson's arm for a bit and probably get a couple of submissions back in again. Though I can't see Danielson tapping out to MJF. But I think MJF is going to get himself ahead maybe by one coming up to the hour mark, and then Danielson will have him probably in the Rebel lock, and then he'll like be looking at the clock and watching it count down till 0, and that's how he'll kind of escape with a win. Or he'll do that and he'll tap at the last minute, meaning they'll have to go to extra time. And it wouldn't shock me if this went to extra time. It's such a trope with Iron Man matches, especially for a world title, that they go to extra time. WrestleMania, Bret and Shawn's, the most obvious one to choose as an example. But I feel like this one is going to show that MJF can wrestle properly at points. I feel like he's going to start with shithousery, then properly wrestle and show everyone that he can, be one of the best pro wrestlers in the world. And then near the end, he'll probably go back to heel shenanigans again. Whereas Danielson, I don't doubt the fact that he will be able to go an hour. I think out of anyone, it'd be him who will be able to go an hour. I imagine his stamina's going to be quite good. And I'm expecting this to be one of the matches of the night. I feel like Hangman and Moxley's probably going to be match of the night, in my opinion, because I'm more towards violence than I am technical wrestling. But I feel like this is going to be really good nonetheless. But as I said, I think MJF is going to retain in this one through some kind of shenanigans, or just waiting in a hold long enough to see the clock run out, similar to Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle on SmackDown, when Brock could see the timer and just let it go down to the final few seconds without tapping out. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be a really good match. As I said, MJF to retain. So those are my predictions for AEW Revolution this weekend. Obviously, I hope you all enjoy the pay-per-view. Do comment down below anything to do with the video, your predictions, what you think is going to happen, and kind of what you think is going to happen after it, going towards, I think it's Double or Nothing next. But yeah, comment below anything to do with the video. It helps the algorithm. Of course, do like the video, share the video if you will. I do have a new Twitter account for the channel where I kind of put, if I watch the weekly shows, I put what my opinions are on there. So please do follow that as well. And again, my review for WWE Elimination Chamber got nearly 200 views, which I'm very happy about, and I appreciate all the views I'm getting, and hopefully the content, you're enjoying it. And as I said, thank you very much, and I will see you guys on Monday for the review of Revolution. So see you later.